Hi, I'm Michaela, and my project was on comparing total task chaining and backwards chaining techniques for parallel parking with a neurotypical adult. My participant was found as my roommate was walking blocks away from our apartment complex to our home because she was avoiding parallel parking. This posed a lot of safety risks as she was walking after work in the dark just to avoid parallel parking that would be much closer to our home. So this provided a major social validity for our participant, which highly motivated her to learn this skill when the opportunity to learn it presented itself. So together, we worked to answer the question, will total task chaining or backwards chaining result in faster independence of parallel parking steps for a neurotypical adult? We wanted her to learn these skills as fast as possible, as this is dangerous. She's walking long distances away from the house in the dark. So there's a high need for this study. Current research available focuses on the two areas of my study. So the one area would be task analysis. So total task chaining, backwards chaining, there's lots of research on that, such as Kolar's 2020 and other studies found in my lit review focus on backwards chaining, and Kolar's focus on backwards chaining with teaching people with developmental disabilities different life skills and like daily living skills in order to improve their social validity using that backwards chaining. And other studies focused on total task chaining and how that impacted their skill acquisition. And then we had the other side of my study, which is the parallel parking. So studies such as Brooks 2016 focused on teaching driving using a simulator with the difficulties levels progressing in order to see if those skills that they learned on easier levels get applied to the higher levels. And other studies also focused on parking and driving, but nobody really combined those two concepts together, which is what I aim to do. The method of this question, what I took was alternating treatment design. This is because it's a study that, or it's a skill that once you learn it, it's hard to unlearn it. Of course, you need the generalization and maintenance to maintain that skill, but overall, it's not something that you necessarily unlearn. So this the effects of the alternating treatment design is seen over in the results. But we first started with a baseline. So we just gave vocal instruction to parallel park. And if she did any steps, I marked it down on my device once the car was parked. I took a mental note, and then once the car was parked safely, I wrote it down. And then once we moved into intervention, then I randomly assigned backwards chaining or total task chaining with equal occurrence throughout the whole intervention phase. And I gave the verbal prompt in the beginning and then prompted according to total task chaining and backwards chaining procedures. As we move to our results, you can see on the graph, our baseline was very consistent with 2 steps completed because those are the 2 steps that she already knew how to do. And then once we started our intervention, it stayed at two steps and then continued to progress as the intervention phase went on. This shows learning from one session to the next. It was interesting to note that the slope was exactly the same for both treatments of the 1/1 or a 1 slope. And as you see, they're both very steadily going up. So she learned about 1 step each time we moved from one session to the next. There was a small divot of this pattern from session 6 to 7 where she maintained the same steps on the data. It's actually interesting because she missed a different step than she had the time before, which was just interesting to note. But other than that one session, she consistently maintained a learning one new step each time, despite whether or not that was a backwards chaining or total task. So overall, both chaining procedures were effective. And after the study and kind of during the study, my participant reiterated to me, I like it when you just help me with each step. I don't like it when you like tell me what to do and then at the end I do it. And so I was like, oh, okay, you like total task chaining better than backwards chaining. So I think that social validity, and I gave her a social validity questionnaire at the end just to see what specifically she liked and didn't like. And she found total task chaining to be more preferred than backwards chaining, despite them both being effective. So as we move into the discussion, I think that's a big part of something I took away from this study, is that some people like total task training better, and she was already motivated. The point of doing backwards chain techniques is so they can see the end result and so they can be motivated. But my participant was already motivated. She already really wanted to learn this skill, which is why I think that both interventions were so effective. These findings overall prove or promote the use of chaining techniques for parallel parking, as they were both effective in teaching it and teaching it at the same rate. Limitations for this study would definitely be external validity. I only used one participant. So what worked for her and what she preferred, someone else might not also might prefer something different, or they might prefer backwards chaining instead. Also, the sessions were about 3 or 4 per week consistently. We didn't have 1 week off and then a week. They were pretty much back to back to back. So that skill acquisition was rapid, and she had a high memory of that. So I would definitely recommend for her to keep practicing, generalize parallel parking to other locations, and follow up in a few months and make sure she's implementing maintenance for herself and also for me, to ensure that this skill is being maintained over a long period of time, because it was just 2 weeks of intensive task analysis, skill acquisition training, so condensed. So I just want to make sure she's remembering these steps and maintaining them over a long period of time so that social validity stands. And then I attached references from the previously spoken about sources. Thank you for your